We will be with the England camp very shortly to speak to our football correspondent Rob Dorsett after Thomas Tuchel addressed the media a little bit earlier on today. We will hear from Rob about some interesting comments about Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden, who he says he doesn't feel in the current system can play together. Now, for someone who's been in and around the England camp, Mr Hasselbank, what would you like to say about the conversations that you and Gareth Southgate had as to who could and couldn't play together?
It all depends who you're playing against and how much you're going to have of the ball. You know, if you are playing against a team that is going to sit back and you know that you're going to have 80-90% of the ball, then those 3-4 players can play together because you're going to play in the opposition's half and in the final third. If you're going to play against Spain or France, you might have to think twice about that. So, you know?
When you had conversations with Gareth, was the question, do you try and get the best team or did you try and get the best players into the 11?
No, you look at who fits in for that time and that opponent. You know, I do think that those players can play together when they are in their best form. You know, and I think we have done that. Bellingham was in his best form. Foden had the best year ever in the Premier League. And Kane scored goals left, right and centre for Bayern Munich. And they played together and we got to the final, you know, so...
This is always the problem, Jimmy, and I'm sure that Gareth would have seen it like this, is that because of the amount of options, and there'll be our fans there, everyone will have their own favourite from their own club, but unless you win a tournament, you can't win in the sense that everyone will, from the outside, will say, well, you should have picked him or you should have put him on.
Yeah, and that is what you have to deal with and you have to take because you haven't won it. I'll be the first one to say, but before the game, you put in players in that you think are going to win the game for you, not going to lose the game for you. So we were close. We did well. Yes, it was not as fluent as we wanted to, but we dug in and we got it done. And sometimes you need to say, you know, Spain was better. Sometimes you just need to say they were better, and we almost got there. We made 1-1. We were going to make substitutes at the time because we were too open, and we were 1-0 behind, and we had to go for it, and we got the 1-1. Then 5 minutes after, we want to make changes, and then they score. So sometimes, you know, things happen. But coming back to that game, Spain was better, you know.
And they have been the whole tournament, haven't they? Really,
and they have been the whole tournament. And yeah, you can say, oh, you should have done this, should have done that, should have done this. Hindsight is beautiful.
It certainly is. Let's get more on those selection dilemmas then. Rob Dorsett is waiting at Tottenham's training ground at the moment for us. Rob, I'm not sure how much of that conversation you caught there, but some interesting comments, as we said, from Thomas Tuchel, particularly on Kane, Foden and Bellingham today.
Yeah, hearing Jimmy speak there, I think he made an awful lot of valid points, and there are certain imponderables and inconsistencies that happen in football that are difficult to predict. But I think what we got today from the current England head coach was seismic. In terms of England's planning for next summer's World Cup, he laid his cards on the table in a way that he hasn't done up until now. To this point, every time that Thomas Tuchel has mentioned an individual player, it's been with a specific goal in mind, either to try and boost their confidence if they're struggling a little bit, or it's been to give them a kick up the backside. And the two examples I would give are when Marcus Rashford was bedding in at Barcelona and struggling a little bit, Thomas Tuchel said Marcus Rashford can be one of the best forwards in world football. That was deliberate to try and put some wind in his sails. The next one I remember on the other extreme was when Bukayo Saka scored his 13th England goal and became Arsenal's all-time leading goal scorer in an England shirt. Thomas Tuchel said, is that all he scored? He ought to be getting more goals from that. So that's what's happened up till now. But today, there were three specific tactics that he used. The first of them was to say, as you've just been talking about, that Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden can't play in the same team. And as you heard from Jimmy there, that happened a number of times under his predecessor, Gareth Southgate. He went on to say that he can't take all the number 10s that he's used so far as England head coach. And it's a big list of absolute quality. Bellingham, Foden, Cole Palmer, Morgan Rogers, Morgan Gibbs-White, Eberici Eze. He said, yeah, big names, can't take all of them. And he also went on to say he won't try and crowbar players out of position to get them into the starting 11 or indeed into the squad just because they've got big pedigrees and big reputations. That is perhaps the most significant thing of all. And you're looking there today at the training shots of Jude Bellingham and Morgan Rogers together. They are very, very close friends, but both on and off the pitch. But Tuchel today almost set them against each other and said, look, there's competition at number 10. You guys might get on very well, but I can't take all of you. So one of you, two of you, three of you have got to step up, put your hand up over the next couple of games that we've got coming up for England now and beyond if you want to get a seat on the plane to the World Cup. Have a listen directly to what Thomas Tuchel had to say when he was asked directly, can Rodgers and Bellingham play together at the same time?
I don't know. I guess so, but not both on the same position, obviously. So rather than finding for the best players a position to just have them on the field, it's maybe better to put everyone in the best position and have a competition. So at the moment, the competition is between the two of them. They're friends, so this can also be a friendly competition. You don't have to be enemies and you don't have to hate each other. They are respectful, they are friends with each other, and they fight at the moment for the same position. Can they play together? Yes, but in a different structure then maybe, and at the moment is not the moment to change our structure.
There's Thomas Tuchel talking about those two. It was a fascinating news conference. He's done some other interviews for the rights holders since then, which have been equally fascinating. It felt like Thomas Tuchel was setting out his stall today. Some of the other things he said, talking to the players directly, don't lose sight of this week and the importance of this week. He said, yes, we might be already qualified. That should not matter because we play for our own standards. And he also said it might not be 5-0 again against Serbia. He expects them to be a tougher proposition. Remember, Serbia and Albania that England play away on Sunday night still have chances of qualifying for the World Cup via the playoffs. So they have stuff to play for even if England doesn't. He said he doesn't have the World Cup urge at the moment. He's not thinking that far ahead, even if the players are doing so. He wants them to maintain their standards in this international camp. He picked out both Rodgers and Elliot Anderson for special praise. Both of them feel closer to that final World Cup squad than perhaps they ever have done at any other stage. So there was an awful lot from the England head coach today. But bear in mind they've only got one striker in the squad, Harry Kane. He decided not to call up Ollie Watkins. He left a lot of other options out there. And bear in mind as well that we think he'd probably only take two strikers to the World Cup when he names that final squad. I wanted to ask Jimmy one, because I get the impression that Thomas Tuchel in this international break is going to try Phil Foden as a false nine, or Marcus Rashford up top instead of out wide, or Jared Bowen there. It'd be really interesting to see what he does, but he's talked a lot about Phil Foden possibly playing as a striker, and if he's not potentially including him as a number 10, maybe that's a role for him. I think he deliberately only picked one striker so that he could try these other options out in this international break. Jimmy, as an illustrious international striker yourself, what do you make of that? Good idea, bad idea?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it's something different. Phil Foden can do that. He's intelligent enough to be able to play that. He has, I think, played that for Man City before. I think you have got another number 10 who is not with them at the moment, who is Palmer, who can do that as well, who has done that for Chelsea as well. So it is an option. It is an option if he doesn't want to take any other strikers and he doesn't have Kane to be able to go in that way, play with four midfielders really close together and have Phil Foden or Cole Palmer as a false number 9. Yeah, I can see that work.
Rob, thank you very much indeed. We'll leave it there with you and maybe get some thoughts from our fans panel as well, because I think, as Rob alluded to there might be some disappointed faces come the summer. Ellie, we'll come to you and you can give me a passionate sales pitch for Morgan Gibbs-White to be on the plane.
Oh, you've asked the wrong person, because I actually think on his current form...
Oh, God.
I don't think he should be. But he has the potential, and we all know he does, but it would be wrong for him to be on that plane at this moment in time. And I love him, and I think he is absolutely brilliant. I think he's so creative, and I think he definitely deserves a chance. And he had that, and I think it was brilliant to see him in the previous squads. And that's what I really love about Thomas Tuchel and what he's doing at the minute. He's not picking favourites, he's managing personalities brilliantly. As was said just before about Marcus Rashford and Bukayo Saka, and the fact that Jude Bellingham was left out the squad, giving him a rest as well with his shoulder injury. I think the way he's managing it, he's got the complete right mindset. He's not got his favourite, he's playing around, because sometimes he's playing best aren't your best players. I mean, if we look at the Euros in 2021, player for player, I'd say England had the better team, but we didn't win it because the better team won at the end of the day, and it doesn't necessarily rely on individuals. And I think Tuchel's got that mindset, so I'm really excited for what's to come.
I do think that he has his favourites. He knows more or less what he wants. Every manager has his favourites. It's just how it is. And that is fine, but what he's doing, and he's doing that very smart, he's using the media to bring messages through. You filter things in, you know, putting little bombs in, you know.
A couple of grenades.
And sometimes it's a little bit negative, sometimes it is really positive. And basically what he's saying, Kane, Foden, Bellingham can't play together. Show me.
Prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong,
lads.
You know, prove me wrong.